Tonight in the battle over health care, they are on the front lines, poor, underinsured, and in need of a doctor. I'm Katie Couric, also tonight in the middle of the action as the Marines push out the Taliban. U.S. forces take over a key enemy stronghold in Afghanistan, but the fight to secure the town is not over. Change in the air while you'll soon have to provide more personal information to buy an airline ticket. And remembering the man behind the electric guitar, rock and roll pioneer Les Paul.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, we begin tonight with the battle over health care reform, but this time we're not starting at a town meeting. Tonight, we're going to show you why many believe reform is desperately needed. These are just some of the tens of thousands of Americans who need health care but have no insurance or not enough of it. And they're lining up at a free makeshift clinic in Los Angeles, a short-term solution to a long-term problem. Bill Whitaker begins our coverage.
People from all around Los Angeles have been lining up like this round the clock since Monday, waiting, hoping to get medical care. Free medical care. Some 1,500 people a day, almost all working people who have insurance, but it's just not enough, filing into LA's cavernous forum to see 443 doctors.
Can you see my finger?
Dentists, optometrists. All of these medical professionals, volunteers. All of these people in need. Larry Durst's disability check won't cover the glasses he needs.
What would you do if this were not here?
Suffer, go without.
Kenya Smith needs a checkup for 2-week-old Zoe. Her insurance doesn't cover it.
They wanted $1,500 for just to be seen by a doctor plus co-payments, and that was kind of a lot of money, I thought.
This is my husband.
Anna Garcia got in line Tuesday for dental work.
I have insurance from my employer.
She works for Orange County, has 5 children, her husband out of work. The co-pay for 3-year-old Aiza's root canal, $1,000.
I couldn't afford it, and I didn't want her to lose her teeth. So once I read about this program, I had to take advantage of it, even if it meant me losing a couple of days from work.
I need a volunteer at 7, please.
This program is run by Remote Area Medical, a nonprofit group established 24 years ago to take modern medicine to the third world. Today, they do some 40 multi-day free clinics a year, 65% of them now in the U.S.
And one.
The need is all over the United States, just like this, wherever you go. There are about 49 million people that don't have access to the care they need. They simply can't afford it.
Family physician Natalie Nevins has worked in villages in India and Africa.
Here at home, we have as much a need as I do when I travel to the most remote areas of India. And that's very heartbreaking. Most of these people work, they have jobs, but they work for small companies that can't afford to give them insurance.
For doctors and patients here, the shouting over health care reform is incomprehensible.
Walk in my shoes. Try it. A couple of weeks. You won't last.
Sutina Green works for the city of Long Beach. She could be speaking for every patient here.
I have 5 children and I'm a single mother. So for me, this was a blessing.
Now, Katie, this has been going on all day. The doctors here are overwhelmed. They don't have enough volunteers to meet the need. Now, they expect to serve more than 1,000 people a day through Tuesday. And after they close down, they expect to send thousands more away unserved. Katie?
Bill Whitaker in Inglewood, California. Bill, thank you. As tempers flare in the health care debate, both sides are employing everything in their arsenals to win over Americans. And Cheryl Atkinson tells us they're using every medium possible to get out their message.
In Queens, New York, our affiliate news crew was at first barred from the town hall with Congressman Anthony Weiner.
We're told by your people that you don't want cameras in this forum.
Dial it down, buddy. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
Us.
This isn't for Channel 2. This is for my constituents.
Weiner finally let our camera in. And the now familiar scene played out.
Let's look at the whole picture. You guys are stealing from us.
A new Gallup poll says more Americans view angry attacks against a health care bill as democracy in action rather than an abuse of democracy. And 34% say it makes them more sympathetic to the protesters' viewpoints. Now White House officials are scrambling to face this unexpected reality. Today, they launched an email campaign to refute what they call viral emails that fly unchecked, spreading all sorts of lies and distortions. Many view the internet outreach as a sign the White House is growing increasingly concerned.
Doesn't the fact that you've started pushing back indicate that you realize that the initiative is in trouble?
Well, one of the reasons we've pushed back is because of those misconceptions.
The president's pro-reform message is getting a boost from a well-funded coalition that includes politically diverse groups, from the American Medical Association to the drug industry lobby group Pharma. Today, they launched a massive ad campaign that will spend $12 million in just the next few weeks.
Quality, affordable care.
But will it be enough to counter the town hall outrage?
You are talking down to the American people.
Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, a Republican, says the key is what Democratic leaders hear from their members in districts considered vulnerable in next year's elections.
Whether or not all of their swing members come back and say, you know, this is a suicide mission, then you'll see real change.
President Obama will have his second town hall meeting of the week tomorrow in Montana, set back on his heels, but hoping to shift public opinion on his defining issue. Katie?
Cheryl Atkinson in Washington tonight. One of the most contentious issues in the healthcare debate involves a proposal to provide end-of-life counseling to help patients decide what kind of medical treatment they want or need. The most extreme opponents have raised the specter of what they call death panels that would decide whether insurance would pay for end-of-life care. There is no such proposal, but the issue has become so divisive, the president felt compelled to assure Americans this week that no one was going to, as he put it, pull the plug on grandma. Kelly Kobayea has more now on a subject most of us have difficulty talking about: dying.
As the protests and the shouting continue in town halls on how end-of-life care would be changed by healthcare reform, quietly, away from the furor, Mulvin Edwards and his wife are planning for the last days of his life.
Have the doctors told you what your prognosis is?
Well, they can't do nothing else for me. That's it.
They can't do anything else?
Yeah, they said they did all they could do.
Mulvin has bladder cancer, which has spread to his bones. He did not want to die in a hospital, so he chose home care through a hospice program.
I don't think he had to make a decision because we don't know how long he's going to be.
Proponents of healthcare reform believe that if more terminally ill patients are given end-of-life counseling like Mulvin, they would be less likely to choose futile, expensive treatments.
Patients often get much more care than they actually want at the end of life.
It's estimated that 27% of Medicare's $327 billion budget is used by patients in the last year of life. That makes end-of-life spending an attractive target for cost-cutting. Yet the healthcare reform package that includes end-of-life counseling paid for by the government strikes some as inhumane and has proven politically toxic. The Senate version of healthcare reform has cut it out. The House version still has it in.
Is too much money being spent on end-of-life care?
Unfortunately, yes.
Dr. Carmine Giannatiempo treats terminally ill patients every day. He says by the time they get to the intensive care unit, it's too late for counseling.
Most of the time, the first time that the subject is actually brought up is when the patient is almost at the end of their life.
Some believe that when it comes to the terminally ill, more doctors need to stop prescribing and start communicating.
We are not honoring patients and their families' own wishes. It turns out that if we did a better job of actually informing patients about what their choices are and then honoring their wishes, we would save money.
And help more people like Mulvin and their families deal with death on their terms. Kelly Kobayea, CBS News, Paterson, New Jersey.
Turning now to the war in Afghanistan, a fierce battle continued for a second day in the south. 500 U.S. Marines and Afghan soldiers took control today of a key Taliban stronghold in Helmand province, where major trade routes converge. Chief Foreign Affairs correspondent Lara Logan is with the Marines at Camp Bastion.
A day after they stormed into this Taliban stronghold, Marines continued to battle militants, taking sporadic fire from every direction as troops ducked for cover.
Get down! All directions. We took it from over there. We'll probably take it from over here.
These Marines are the first foreign troops to enter the town of Dahana, and they're here to stay. From here, the Taliban has operated freely, controlling trade and smuggling routes to the north and building the roadside bombs that last month alone claimed 49 U.S. and NATO lives. Marines and Afghan soldiers pushed through mud brick compounds from where militants had been seen firing on the first day of the assault yesterday.
Right now, the assessment would be that we've got the enemy pretty much on the ropes. He's confused, and the Marines are able to make the advances where they need to.
By tonight, senior Marine officers told CBS News they'd taken control of the town, but it was not yet secure. That will take more time. The Marine advance in Dahana has been slowed at times by the new rules of engagement here. General Stanley McChrystal, the top U.S. commander, changed the rules to prevent mass casualties among Afghan villages. His mandate says all foreign troops have to use proportionate force and make protecting Afghan civilians their top priority. The Marines say so far not a single Afghan civilian has been killed or wounded in spite of the fierce fighting. Here they're escorting Afghan civilians from their homes, directing them to safety.
Tell him that right now it is not safe for them to walk over there. They have to come with us. Tell him the Taliban has guns all over there.
This elderly man almost got caught in the crossfire. After a warning shot, he was searched and sent on his way. Many of the 2,000 people who live here have fled. The Marines are hoping they'll come back when the town is secure, in time to vote in the presidential election next week. Lara Logan, CBS News, Camp Bastion, Helmand.
And coming up next, right here on the CBS Evening News, the number of Americans drowning in debt is rising, saddled with homes worth less than their mortgage. The recession may be easing, but the foreclosure crisis is getting worse. In fact, foreclosure filings rose by nearly a third in July to more than 360,000. Las Vegas led the way with nearly 17,000. That's 1 out of every 47 homes. It was 1 in every 62 in Stockton, California. And in Florida, 1 in every 64 housing units in the Cape Coral-Fort Myers area had received a foreclosure filing. Meanwhile, Ben Tracy tells us as more and more Americans are caught in a mortgage squeeze, attitudes about home ownership are changing.
A little sugar on top like we did last time.
Scott Schumacher and his fiancée are right at home in the kitchen, even if it's one they're renting. The couple ignored their parents' advice and rented a luxury condo in Los Angeles for $3,500 per month.
They urged me the last 4 or 5 years, buy a house, buy a house. You're wasting your money now. It'll be such a good investment. I'm so glad I didn't listen to them.
That's because more than 1 in 4 homeowners is now underwater, owing more than their house is worth. As home values continue to drop and adjustable rate mortgages reset, an astonishing half of all homeowners in this country are predicted to be underwater by 2011.
In the past, renters were considered somehow too immoral, too incompetent, and too poor to own. It's as if they were demonized. But now, as it turns out, they weren't so stupid after all.
Yet ever since World War II, owning a home has been the American dream, encouraged by federal tax deductions. By 2005, 70% of Americans own their homes, a record high. But thanks to foreclosures and tighter lending practices, that's already dropped to 67% and expected to fall to 63.5% by 2020, the lowest level since 1985. And for those still thinking about buying, don't expect a huge return on your investment. That's because historically, home appreciation averages just 1% over inflation. Further evidence that our homes are no longer ATMs, but rather places to live and raise a family.
We need to get ourselves away from the idea that owning a home anywhere will generate profits for us eventually down the road.
Scott Schumacher used the money he would have spent on a down payment to jumpstart his new internet business. For him, rent is not a 4-letter word.
I have a lifestyle and a place to live that I really enjoy, and it's hard to put a price on that.
The American dream redefined. Ben Tracy, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Now to the football star who shattered his own dream, Michael Vick. He's out of prison after serving 18 months for running a dogfighting ring. But Vick, who once signed a $130 million contract, is now deep in debt. And all but 6 teams say they won't sign the 29-year-old quarterback. In the first interview since his release, Vick spoke with CBS Sports anchor James Brown for this Sunday's 60 Minutes.
And the operation, Michael, that you pleaded guilty to bankrolling, to being a part of, engaged in barbarous treatment of the animals, beating them, shooting them, electrocuting them, drowning them. Horrific things, Michael. What about the dogs? What about the dogs?
It was wrong, JB. And, I feel, tremendous hurt behind what happened. And, I should have took the initiative to stop it all, and I didn't. I didn't step up. I wasn't the leader.
So for the cynics who would say, you know what, I don't know, Michael Vick might be more concerned about the fact that his career was hurt than dogs were hurt.
Football don't even matter.
You can watch all of James Brown's interview with Michael Vick on 60 Minutes this Sunday, right here on CBS. And coming up next, gender, date of birth, the questions you'll soon have to answer to buy an airline ticket. Since 9/11, we've all become used to taking off our shoes, emptying our pockets, and sometimes getting patted down at airport security. But starting Saturday, air travel will get even more personal. We'll now have to provide our birth dates and our gender to book a flight. Bob Orr tells us why this may actually make travel easier and safer.
It happens hundreds of times every day. Innocent passengers are stopped at airport checkpoints because their names happen to match one of the million-plus names on the terrorist watch list. Senator Edward Kennedy, civil rights advocate Congressman John Lewis, and CBS News national security correspondent David Martin are among those who have been repeatedly held up by misidentifications. Now the TSA says a new program called Secure Flight will virtually eliminate those mistakes by requiring passengers to turn over additional personal information when they buy tickets.
And by the data that we ask for, which again is the name, the date of birth, and gender, Secure Flight will clear more than 99% of the travelers.
For many passengers who are already taking off their shoes, unpacking their laptops, and putting their toiletries in little plastic bags, this latest security requirement is no big deal.
It doesn't bother me so much, except for the fact that then I have to be reminded how old I really am when I don't feel that old.
But privacy advocates see an overreaching big brother.
It's part of a long-time expansion by the TSA of the information that they collect about American travelers.
The demand for birth dates and gender information is part of a larger shift that now has the government and not airlines in charge of checking passenger names against the watch list, a key recommendation of the 9/11 Commission. Bob Orr, CBS News, Reagan National Airport.
And another note about air travel and an all-you-can-fly offer today from JetBlue. For $599, you can fly wherever JetBlue flies as much as you want for 1 month starting on September 8th. You must buy the pass by August 21st and book your tickets 3 days in advance. And coming up next, remembering the original guitar hero, Les Paul. And finally tonight, Les Paul, one of music's great innovators, died today in White Plains, New York, of complications from pneumonia. He was 94. Paul had played his electric guitar on stage almost to the very end. And why not? He created the instrument. National correspondent Jim Axelrod looks back at the man and his music.
Les Paul was a great guitarist and a genius inventor. He just didn't know which he liked better.
Just be able to put my name on an idea and have it come true. There was a lot of dreams come true in my lifetime.
A big band guitarist in Chicago in the 30s, Les hit big when he teamed with Bing Crosby.
Bing calls up and says, "Hey, Les, tomorrow you want to record with me?" And I said, "Sure, what time?"
But it was another collaboration that made him a star. He married Mary Ford in 1949, and they had 28 hits in the next 8 years. All along, he kept tinkering in his basement, and in 1941 came up with what he called the Log, the first solid-body electric guitar. The Gibson Les Paul guitar became the gold standard. Paul McCartney, Keith Richards, Pete Townsend, Joe Walsh, they all have played one. Steve Miller met Les Paul when he was 5.
This here's a story about Billy Joe and Bobby Sue.
And Les taught me my first chords, Mary taught me some chords. And I was 5 years old, and I just absorbed every bit of it.
Miller kept playing with him until the end, catching up with him sometimes at Les Paul's regular Monday night gigs in New York.
I love to play, love to entertain, love to make people laugh, make them happy. That's what keeps me going.
Les Paul may be silenced tonight at 94, but what he's left behind assures that rock and roll never will be. Jim Axelrod, CBS News, New York.
And that is the CBS Evening News. I'm Katie Couric. Good night.